The Party of Family Values, which allegedly despises groomers, is now publicly throwing a fit about a bill which would limit child marriage in Wyoming. Intrigued? Then click that like and subscribe and enjoy the video. All right, so here's a challenge. If anybody can cogently explain the moral and ethical framework of the modern Republican Party, I would sincerely appreciate it. Because stories like this illustrate how, in my opinion, how contradictory, how hypocritical, how much of a non-starter it really is. Because members of the Republican Party, like congressmen and senators and governors and, conservative commentators, things like that, former presidents, they'll make all kinds of noise about how much of a concern it is about grooming, right? Which to them is basically any public display by anybody who is not a straight white man, right? They're so concerned about grooming and child predation, even though they have no issues with families in the South, taking their young impressionable kids to Hooters in front of scantily clad people, putting their kids in, these highly sexualized beauty pageants. I mean, all these things, right? The contradiction is profound, right? But anytime they have a camera on them or any sort of public platform, they will make all kinds of noise about it, how much they stand against child predation, how much they stand against grooming, and how they are the party which values family values. They're the party that defends family values, the strength and sanctity and security of the family. And then you have stories like this out of Wyoming, right? Where there is a bill that's making its way into becoming law in the state of Wyoming, which would limit child marriage. And its opposition is coming from the Republican Party, the Party of Family Values, the party which allegedly despises grooming, remember? They're the party that is objecting to a bill which would limit child marriage. And how would it limit child marriage, you might ask? Would it raise the legal threshold from whatever it is now to 18, which is when you're an adult in the United States? Well, hell no, of course not. They don't want to eliminate child marriage. They just want to, reduce it a bit. And how are they going to do that? This bill, boldly, bravely, wants to raise the legal age of marriage to 16 in Wyoming. 16. I guess that's a hell of a lot better than what it currently is. Why isn't it 18? It's a really good question. So this is a half-assed compromise bill, right? And as Newsweek reports, the Wyoming Republican Party is seeking to kill a bill, working its way through the state legislature, proposing to raise the state's legal marriage age to 16, arguing that this puts an arbitrary limit on parental rights and religious liberty. How about that? Right? Again, set aside the fact that it should be 18, right? And this is, again, a half measure at best. Its opposition is predicated on the idea that, number one, it's arbitrary. Number two, it would infringe on a parent's right to marry off a minor to an adult. And religious liberty. That's preposterous. It's absurd. But let's read on. The bill, which already passed the Republican-controlled Wyoming House of Representatives on a 36-25 vote last month, which that margin right there is embarrassing, proposes banning state residents from marrying anyone under the age of 16 while requiring anyone under the age of 18 seeking to get married to receive written consent from their parents under the eye of a competent witness. The debate has been a long-standing one in Wyoming. Currently, Wyoming is just one of 8 states in the country, including California, Michigan, Mississippi, New Mexico, Oklahoma, Washington, and West Virginia, without a minimum age requirement for marriage. And it currently ranks among the top 10 states in the country for child marriages, according to a 2021 study by the advocacy group Unchained at Last. Goes on to say, efforts to actually raise the age of marriage in the state have consistently stalled. For years, now retired Laramie Democratic Representative Charles Pelkey sponsored legislation to raise the age of marriage to 18, which is what it should be, federally in every state possible. It shouldn't even be a question, only to fail with every effort. And why did they fail? Of course, Republicans. That's where we are. That's where the Republican Party is. It's bewildering. And even if there wasn't the long-standing contradiction, long-standing hypocrisy, right, that underscores this legislation or the opposition to this legislation, it would still be newsworthy. But there is that hypocrisy, which makes it even worse, right? Moreover, there have been attempts in other states, to pass legislation by Republicans. Like Republicans have attempted to pass legislation in other states, like Tennessee, for example. We talked about it last year, that would effectively kill a minimum age requirement for marriage. Legislation that just conveniently leaves it out. This stuff is ridiculous, okay? Obviously, this is not a belief held by, I would argue, I would be shocked if the vast majority of Republican voters and constituents and even conservatives didn't oppose child marriage. I imagine the vast majority of them do. But to me, it's preposterous, right, that the party that, again, makes all kind of noise about the sanctity and security of marriage and how important it is to protect children and minors from indecent exposure, deviant exposure, or child predation, is also the party that, for whatever reason, I don't even know how they would begin to substantiate it, is more concerned about the rights of parents to, theoretically, marry off their children, or on the grounds of religious liberty. Because I guess their religion either compels or allows a guardian to marry off a minor against their will. Even if that's the case, if that's your sincerely held religious belief, we don't live in a theocracy. We live in the United States of America, and there is such a thing as separation between church and state. And this secular society means that we don't have to respect that religious tradition if that's what it is. Moreover, even on the issue of parental rights aren't absolute in this country, and understandably so. A parent can't legally abuse their child. A parent can't legally enslave their child. A parent can't legally, force their child into child labor, right? I mean, there are all kinds of protections for minors and children, even against their parents, right? So appealing to parental rights here just doesn't pass the smell test, right? So anyway, I just found it interesting that once again, even on culture issues, the Republican Party is talking out of both sides of its mouth. You should be aware of this. Point out the hypocrisy. The next time you see a Republican thump their chests about how they stand for family values and the protection and sanctity of family values and marriage and the importance to protect children from predation, point this out. The best way to protect children from child predation is probably to keep a lot of Republicans out of power and away from kids. Hey you! Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, and I hope that you did, please hit the like and subscribe buttons below. And if you absolutely hated the video, the best revenge for you is also to hit the like and subscribe buttons below. That'll teach me. If you want to share an opinion or share some feedback, go ahead and leave a comment, all right? 2023 is a year of change, hence the aggressive rebrand and commitment to new content. Inspired by my friends Luke Beasley and STV Philly, my personal goal for this channel is to hit 40,000 subscribers by the end of the year. So I'm hoping you'll do me a solid by spreading the word and the videos to potential fans and hate watchers alike. And in the meantime, we'll be pondering politics again with you very soon.